Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Karen Kozia Phillips. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Video Rampal with your sports report.
Topping the news at this time, Transport Commissioner Wayne Richards has denied there's a crackdown on drivers whose vehicles do not bear an up-to-date inspection sticker. He said what is being done is simply the licensing officers carrying out their normal duties. He spoke with C News this morning, confirming there has been a rush to the various licensing offices throughout the country.
Have always been doing that. Once they're on the road, they do a complete job. Well, the thing about it is that something circulated on social media, right, which brought about that type of panic. We didn't publish anything, and as far as I know, the police didn't publish anything.
Commissioner Richards said the current rush of the licensing officers show that many people have failed to comply with the law, and he's urging motorists to do the right thing.
Always complying with the law is always good, right? Complying with the law is always good, but the situation, as it were, is that it changes the dynamics, because when one calculates and make projections with resources, and it goes contrary to that, it sometimes creates artificial scarcity.
He said staff has been coping well with the rush. However, there's a problem with space for some vehicles, especially in San Fernando. And the Ministry of Works and Transport says the Traffic Warden Division and the Transport Division have not embarked on an initiative to crack down on vehicles that have not been inspected. The ministry said the inspection of vehicles is in fact an ongoing process conducted by motor vehicle officers throughout the year. It said according to the law, the fine for non-inspection or expired inspection stickers is $5,000. Private vehicles with a manufactured date, not the date of registration, of 5 years or older are required to have their vehicles inspected at an authorized testing station biannually. Now, owners of these private vehicles are required to pay a fee of $165, while owners of commercial vehicles are required to have their vehicles inspected on an annual basis at the Transport Division at a cost of $300. Owners of private and commercial vehicles are required to submit their certified copies to begin the inspection process. And the ministry says all vehicles must be in a roadworthy condition at all times. And the owner of Bacchus Taxi Services on Trangate Road in Port of Spain, which also operates an inspection site, says it's almost impossible to service the influx of vehicles coming in to be inspected.
It's bad. Very, very bad. We cannot cope with it. We cannot cope with it because this started from about Friday, and we cannot cope with it. We are just going through the motions.
He says the system of operations at the licensing office must be amended to ensure this does not happen again. And checks with a number of other inspection stations indicate there's a rush by motorists to have their vehicles inspected. Well, we also understand there are long lines at the licensing office in Tobago. Our reporter Patricia Nicholson has been following the story. Good afternoon, Patricia. What can you tell us?
Hi, good afternoon, Karen. Well, it's no different from what's happening in Trinidad today. We have a number of vehicles in long lines in Canby where some inspections are taking place. Persons actually slept there last night just to be first this morning to get their vehicles inspected because, yes, the licensing officers are on the roads again in Tobago today inspecting vehicles. And some persons were caught off guard and are now trying to get their inspections done. Licensing office in Tobago closes very early. The hours are from 8 to 11, so there's not much that could be done there on a daily basis. So persons are actually rushing there early in the morning to get through first so that they can travel on the roads feeling safe and feeling secure, feeling assured that they won't be stopped by any licensing officer and told anything about stickers and having to pay $5,000 for not having the inspection sticker on their vehicle. So yes, it's the same thing as in Trinidad, long lines waiting for cars to be inspected, and hopefully it doesn't turn into anything chaotic, because we heard in Canby where even traffic was being obstructed because of the long lines of persons waiting to get their vehicles inspected in Tobago.
Okay, thank you very much, Patricia. You're watching the CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook or Twitter pages at CNews Live. To some crime news now. Police are currently on the scene of a murder in Malabar. Police say Kevin Griffith, 34, was shot and killed on Subero Street, Malabar, shortly before 11 this morning. Another man was shot during the incident, and we'll have more on this in a subsequent newscast. While police continue to search for a man they say shot at them on Monday evening, reports say at around 7:30, two officers were driving along Lamont Street Extension, Longdenville, when they observed a man of African descent, slim-built, dark complexion, clad in a white vest and black long pants, armed with a submachine gun. On seeing the officers, the suspect began to run. The officers say they gave chase. The suspect reportedly turned around and opened fire on the officers, who are said to have returned fire. Now, when the shooting ceased, a check was made for the suspect. However, he escaped by running north onto London Street, Longdenville. While a single parent is not the only one to take blame if his or her child ends up in a gang. This, according to Leela Ramdeen of the Catholic Commission for Social Justice. She says children will find a way to use their free time despite the efforts of a parent. She said it's a fact that most gang members are males, and in most instances, those who join gangs are from a single-parent home.
Many of them are growing up in homes without dads, yeah? And we need to look at how we encourage our men to want to stay in a family. And the media and the entertainment industry also doesn't help. There's songs like I want to remain single, or I want to love all women, you know. Yeah. And that sort of attitude doesn't bode well for family life.
And Ms. Ramdeen said even if a single mother is trying, the child may use his time elsewhere.
When, as that panel said, when parents are busy, when the mom is busy trying to earn a living for the youngsters, and there's too much time on the youngsters' hands, that's one of the reasons why people join gangs. Friendship, they join also for protection or safety from other gangs. A family member was a member of a gang, and to make money. We're into the age of instant gratification. People want money now, they want it right away. Also to get recognition and acceptance, because perhaps they're not receiving that in their families or in their communities.
She said to avoid more young people falling through the cracks, the education system needs to be revamped to take into account children who may not be doing well in the academics. Well, the Adult Literacy Tutors Association of Trinidad and Tobago is appealing to the public to help locate one of their students. In a statement on social media, the group explained the student appeared in a video entitled What You Know, where he was asked to spell a word. ALTA says he was unable to spell it correctly and he was shamed. Since then, he has not returned to his ALTA class or his workplace. ALTA says we are trying to contact him to encourage him to return to ALTA. The group went on to criticize the show, saying shaming poor spellers increases stigma and encourages people to struggle silently rather than seek help. In response, What You Know shared their own social media posts on the matter. It said the goal of our videos is not to specially select those who answer incorrectly and subject them to ridicule and to highlight poor spelling. They went on to state their belief that ALTA's post was in relation to ALTA's desire to change how the show was produced. They added, had we agreed to feature your organization, we are pretty sure you would not start any social media uproar, and said we will continue to produce What You Know regardless of your organization's opinion. The cleanup of regions in the country was successful, but some education of citizens needs to be done. This morning, Minister of Local Government Kazim Hussain was flabbergasted as to how areas newly cleansed have returned to filthy conditions by persons littering.
I noticed we clean certain areas, like we clean about 5 corporations already. And I drive through some just to see what's happening, the follow-up and so on. And people just throwing back the plastic bottles in the rivers and the drains and, like no kind of care and concern about the environment. This have to start in the schools, from the kindergarten to the primary to the secondary. This must have an education drive behind it. Well, I thought about it when we started to do the cleanup, that we must get the schools involved.
Minister Hossain said he intends to work through the schools, NGOs and other like-minded companies to get the message out that for a better society, we need a clean environment. Moving to other news now, Chief Executive Officer of Caroni Green Limited, Sharma Lala, says Trinidad and Tobago's agricultural sector is not where it should be. Mr. Lala, who is speaking at the Joint Select Committee on Land and Agriculture, said TNT's agriculture sector is the lowest contributor to GDP among all Caribbean countries.
Trinidad and Tobago is the lowest among all CARICOM countries. We are less than 0.8%, whereas you have Jamaica about 7%, Guyana about 26%, and we've also researched the Canadian model, and they're about 7% of GDP.
Mr. Lala said he believes the low GDP of our agricultural sector is due to the decline of the sugar industry.
It's the worst performing country among CARICOM in that we have had the highest reduction in contribution of agriculture to GDP. Our percentage from the time the measurement started to now, we've decreased by about 76.5%. And a significant portion of that is attributable to the decline of the sugar industry. By comparison, again, if we look at Jamaica, Jamaica's decline over the same period has been a mere 2.5%. What that tells us is that we really have a very long way to go in terms of trying to capture some kind of comparative status.
And now here's a look at the weather forecast.
Dry air and tranquil winds will continue for today, leaving you with mostly sunny skies and only just a few clouds. Look for a pleasant 30 to 31 degrees Celsius. If you're heading to the beaches, look for smooth seas to the Caribbean of 1 meter, out in the Atlantic close to 1.5 meters, 2 through the offshore areas, and those winds will be light to gentle, varying from south to east. Then north as you go through the day. Look for easterly swells of 8 seconds. Tide is high at noon, then low at 7 p.m. That is the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Dean Wallace.
In some carnival news now, reigning national panorama champions Desperados will be first in the large band category on Carnival Saturday, with former multiple champion Republic Bank Exodus performing in the final position at number 11. However, the first band on stage at 7 p.m. will be Pandemonium in the grand finale of the medium and large conventional band finals. 21 bands, 10 medium and 11 large bands will challenge each other in 2 categories as the transformation in steel reaches the ultimate heights. The draw for playing positions took place this morning on CTV, and you can join us at 1 p.m. just after playway for the full draw. For 30 years, the maximum security prison has been having its Calypso competition, and it is geared towards rehabilitating the prisoners for re-entry into society. And for one man, a 7-time winner of the competition, it's his way of sending a message to young people.
Being in prison, you look for avenue to venge how you feel, things you see, and making mistakes, coming to realize that you don't want others to go along that path. So I look for avenue where I can share the information where they don't make the same mistake like I did.
Mr. Trotman has been in prison for the past 31 years. Well, while we're gearing up for the main event on Saturday at the Queen's Park Savannah, East Panorama took place in Arima on Monday night. 9 bands took part in the composition at the Arima basketball court with all intriguing arrangements, including this one by Angel Hobbs. the bands that took part were Melodians, Simple Song, Arima Golden Symphony, New Pioneers, and Trinidad Nostalgic. And the results of the event will be released later today. Well, from the sweet sounds of Steel Pan, we now have sport with Vidya Ramphal. Tell us what's coming up in sport, Vidya.
Yeah, well, no Sunil Narayan in the one-day international team to face England. We'll tell you who is on the team coming up in the sports report. It's time for your sports. We start with cricket, where the opening batsman Kieran Powell has been recalled to the West Indies team for a three-match ODI series against England. The WICB announced the team on Monday, and Powell returns to the international fold after 3 years out. The squad does not feature left-arm spinner Suleiman Ben, wicketkeeper batsman Johnson Charles, or off-spinner Sunil Narayan, who were all part of the West Indies team in their previous ODI assignment. The squad will be led by captain Jason Holder and also includes Trinidad and Tobago players Shannon Gabriel, Evan Lewis and Jason Mohammed. Now also included are Devendra Bishu, Carlos Brafford, Craig Brafford, Jonathan Carter, Miguel Cummings, Shane Dorridge, Shea Hope, Alzari Joseph, Ashley Nurse and Rothman Powell. Football news now, and the newly appointed national coach Dennis Lawrence started work with the players in earnest on Monday, the first day of the camp. Lawrence welcomed his troops and conducted his first session with the players almost exactly 3 weeks after taking up his appointment as head coach. The lanky former national defender took the players through their paces at the Larrigome Stadium. Trinidad and Tobago is due to play neighbors Suriname on March 10th in Paramaribo. Many of the players are either home-based or out of contract with their international teams and should be in good physical fitness after a long season. The big picture is the upcoming World Cup qualifiers in the Hex against Panama on March 24th and Mexico 4 days later at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. Now, Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force retained the Digicel Pro Bowl with a thrilling 5-4 win through kicks from the penalty mark. The Army drew 2-2 with Central FC in full time but completed their mission from the spot kicks.
Early pressure paid off for the Defence Force, and this delightful cross from Marvin Jones is made beautifully by Justin Garcia for 1-0 in the 6th minute. Then moments later, an identical scenario, only this time the attackers failed to finish the job and Central's blushes were spared. Central then sprang to life and came close on a couple of occasions themselves as they came more into the game. But time and again, goalkeeper of the tournament, Sheldon Clark, would come up big to thwart them at every turn to preserve a 1-0 half-time scoreline in favor of the Tetra boys. But in the second half, the Defence Force would surge early, like in the first half, and Hashim Asia shook off Leston Paul, tugging at his shirt to get off a fierce cracker that just sails over the bar, but not by much. However, Central will respond, and they got lucky here, as referee Crystal Sobers bought the appeals of Jason Makanu and awarded a penalty to Central. Leston Paul will step up and confidently put it away for 1-1 in the 57th. But the Tetron boys would respond, and Asia's feed sends Jamil Boatswain through, and he shakes off 2 defenders and slips his effort neatly into the far corner for 2-1 in the 67th. However, Central will get lucky again when this attempted cross is blocked with the hand according to referee Sobers, and she pointed to the spot. But Leston Paul tried to be too cute here with his effort, and he watched in horror as his effort painted the crossbar and stayed out. Justice was served is how the Army felt about that. But there would be more controversy when Central finally equalized as the shot was heading in, but the last touch at the back post looked like it came off the hand of the attacker and was allowed to stand. Quite naturally, the Army were not too thrilled and made their feelings known, but to no avail as it ended 2 apiece, forcing penalties. In the penalty shootout, Asia again stepped up to make it 1-0 Army. But Darren Mitchell would strike iron in his effort, which proved costly. That's because the Army would put away all of their kicks the rest of the week. And then, with their fifth and final kick and leading 4-3, Devon Jocelyn made certain to spark a mini carnival at the Atom Bowling Stadium. They walked off 5-3 winners with kicks from the penalty stripe and retained their Pro Bowl title and swept a number of the top individual awards on offer in the tournament, and they have the hardware to prove it.
Army Fete all over again. Well, to cycling now, the local speedster Kwesi Brown had a mixed outing in Cali, Colombia at the UCI World Cup event on the weekend. Brown of Arima Wheelers clocked a disappointing 10.223 seconds in the flying 200 to qualify for the round of 16 in the elite sprint event. But he was no match for Lithuania's Lendl Vasilis and bowed out on the first day of action. But he fared much better in his pet event, the men's Kirin, where he placed a creditable 5th overall. His 5th place finish was the best by a local at a UCI World Cup event and sets him up nicely for the next leg of the World Cup tour, which switches over to Los Angeles in the United States this weekend. Well, that's it for your sports report.
And that's how we end the CNews report at noon. I'm Karen Kozier-Phillip.
And I'm Vidya Ramphal.
Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the CNews website at ctvtt.com. Do have a good afternoon.